Okay, so upon request, this one's for you, Tiffany. Let's get something started. So, to start from the beginning, which was asked, first, you need to make a slip stitch. You want it to be tight on your hook, but not so tight that it doesn't move freely. If it doesn't move freely, then you're going to have problems later on down the line. I'm actually going to flip this because I prefer my tail to be down. All right, so first you'll start with a chain. You wrap the hook and pull it through. That's one chain. And then you just keep going. I'm going to chain 9 to start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now see how I'm hanging on to that tail so it doesn't twist and turn? So if the project you're doing, if you want to do even number of stitches, your chain needs to have one more than what you want. This is a chain of 9, so I will have 8 stitches. This first loop right here is your first chain. You're going to skip that, and you're going to go into this second chain. Now from here, we're going to do single crochets. So you insert into the second chain from the hook, wrap it and pull it through 1. Now you have 2, wrap it and pull it through 2. That's 1. Now you can see the stitch you just went through is pulled out. What you're going to be going through on each of these is this little top loop. Boom, 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 that continues down. Since I chained 9, I'm going to have 8 single crochet. And just for reference and good practice, I'm going to put a stitch marker in the first one so that I don't forget where the end is. And you can see the stitch marker goes under both of these strands so that you have a V. The V is an indicator that you've done a single stitch. So let's really quick just get to the end of this row. 2, 3, 6, 7, and the last one, 8. This one's a little messed up. That happens, but I can still tell where the 2 V's for the stitch are, and I can get my crochet hook under there. So it doesn't really matter. So that's 8 single crochet from start with your slip stitch and your chains to doing a single crochet. Now this is good for scarves, blankets, coasters, pretty much anything that's a back and forth. And to continue from here, what you would do is you would chain 1, and then you're going to skip that and go into the first stitch. Notice I've got the hook going through both those two loops. And just like before, you're going to count these two V here as one, pull it underneath those so that you have two loops, and then now you've got one. So it's not necessary, but depending on the color yarn you're working with, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and mark the other side too, so that you know where the stitch is and you don't accidentally go into that chain that you did to start your row. And then you would just continue, and here you can see that there's a little hole underneath the V, and that's where you're going to stick your hook. Loop under the V, two loops, crochet. So when you get to the end, you'll crochet in here, remove your stitch marker first, chain one, turn, crochet into that last stitch, and replace your stitch marker. Now, you don't have to do single crochet. You can also do a double crochet like I showed in the previous video, which involves wrapping the yarn, then stuffing it through. You're still pulling it just through that first one so that you have 3, and then you'll pull through 2, and then through the next 2, and that's a double crochet. You can also do a half double, wrap, stick it into your V, through the V. Now here, when you're doing a half double, instead of pulling through these 2 and then through the last 2, you're just going to pull through all 3. That's a half double. Sometimes the pattern will require you to slip stitch. And a slip stitch is basically a half double, but it's really a half single. So you'll go into your stitch as if you're going to do a single crochet. You'll wrap, but instead of pulling only through here and having 2 on your hook, you're going to pull through both. And that is often what is used to finish something. That's a slip stitch. I'm going to do the slip stitch one more time. Through both. Remember, a single crochet is through one, then through both, and a slip stitch is through both. Now that's a weird wonky shape because I'm showing you so many different stitches, but that's start to single crochets, and then a brief example of a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a slip stitch.